the church is beautiful. It's just challenging.
The church is beautiful.
But you notice it's a generation thing.
What?
That feels that way. It's not just.
Well, here's the thing. Whatever you experienced that was wrong, you have the power to change it for the future. That's what we did.
Yeah, but
I've been around control. One of the things I just put up is talked about betrayal.
Yeah.
And see, when you are governing, you can control the culture. Or you know what I mean? It's a different deal, and you can create what you want to. You got to just get past that, because God knew what you were going to experience.
He did. But I'm saying also, you got to look at it. There's a whole generation.
Yeah.
Of my generation.
Yeah.
We are the youth explosion generation. We are the development of that new space.
Yeah.
And it's not just me. There is a distaste.
Well, here's what I tell about everybody. Like right now in my church, the thriving part is 22 to 32. They ain't running.
But they also, I don't know.
Some of these people are unchurched. It's about how is it a religious space?
I've been a preacher my entire life. I've been in church my entire life. And I'm just sick and tired. I think I'm sick and tired of the rules that are applied, that are not biblical, that are not like, you have to play by other people's rules that often contradict scripture. And I think when I look over my own life, I'm looking like the last situation I just walked through, it was about power and money.
Correct.
And before, it's about control, and it's not about God.
Correct.
And I think my generation, we love God.
Sure.
We have an authentic love for Jesus. And I would even say his word.
Yeah.
I think the system of church, we just are like, I can do without that.
Yeah.
And it's not just me, but there's an entire generation, like there's an entire move that's not moving away from God.
Yeah.
But the system of church is just like I've met some of the most, they will outpray you. They are deeply committed to prayer, to worship, and even some to holiness. Not everybody.
Sure.
But the structure, system of church,
it's so
they
hot.
don't trust it.
And I always explain to people, you got CEOs that embezzle, you got companies that ain't on the straight and narrow, you got products that start right and it goes bad. Every facet of life has the human element. That's all you're dealing with church. Every facet of life has, but what happens is there's a magnification because you're living in I don't want to say oxymoron or paradox, but it's a weird situation because you have a God of standards that lives that has created creation to operate a certain way. Men are fallen, weak, trying to live into that standard and lead at the same time. And it's very difficult for us to do that as human beings. But in that regard, because of the standards of Christ, we often put a black eye on what is going on in corporate America, what's going on in the government, it's going on in every facet. It doesn't matter. The system, you bring hearts into everything, and all hearts, because think about it, the system is not broke if the heart is not broke. Someone is behind the system.
Yeah, but it seems like there's a whole lot of broken systems.
Absolutely.
With a whole lot of jacked up hearts.
But that's because, and that's always been. In history, if you go through, even when Jesus is walking, you see that same pattern all the way through. So this is not a new thing. This has always been. The situation in the church, there's several things. We promote leaders with no character.
But I think the currency, just like you said, currency is why in the corporate space it functions, it works, people stay. But the currency in the faith space is supposed to be something else.
It's supposed to be, but they're fallen human beings.
And I get that. We all are fallen human
Absolutely.
beings. But here's the difference. I'm the fallen human being, admitting to that I'm falling, knowing that I'm falling, and then I'm trusting this person or these people, this system. I know subconsciously, nobody's perfect. But then when there is a standard or a rule or expectations or judgment put out, and you're like, fam, you're like, then it's a rise to a divine. I think the part that makes me upset is when there is the abuse or the use of this as a divine ordinance or a divine thought process, or this is a divine thing that you need to live into, and because you're not living in and you don't measure up, then you can't be, or you can't do, or you don't belong. And then especially when there is just straight up evilness sometimes under it, because it's men's heart, right? It's men's heart. Men's hearts love evil. And I think that's why more of what I said, our generation is like, yeah, I love Jesus, but this, no. And I wholeheartedly believe the church that we have today is not the church that Jesus intended.
But it's never been that way.
Right.
It's been a morphing on a consistent basis because of the heart of humans. Now, my butt is not to, in any kind of way, I absolutely agree with what you're saying with the mess. I've been walking with you. People look at me because I got a beard. Brother, I walked through some of the same hurt that you've walked through, but I've gotten better with grace. See, my relationship with God trumped religion. And eventually I said, and this is how I'm telling you the Lord is speaking to you, you be the better than.
I don't want to be the better.
Well, that's because that's where you are. And I understand that. But you be the better than. I can tell you stories of control, manipulation, betrayal. I can tell you, some of my story, and I put some of it on the video. Here's the weight of it. Just because you got a person that embezzled money as an accountant doesn't mean that I can't be an accountant of integrity.
Yeah, I get that.
You're just not in that space right now, and I get it.
But I think, and I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But there's also a side of me that's just tired.
Yeah, I've been there.
It's tired of hoping and wishing.
You're tired of religion. You're tired of hypocrisy. You're
not
tired
even religion. I'm just tired of people.
Yeah, but religion is the base of it.
I think my generation, we can separate God from the equation. We know it's not God. We know it's people, and it's people who are at the bottom or at the basis of these systems, and God ain't nowhere in it.
Yeah, but again, this is what I'm saying. That is everywhere you go. It's the face of everything.
Stay home. I can attend online.
But you're not catching this one thing.
What am I not catching?
You are the difference.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Until you got to be.
Because right now you're in pain, and when you get out, you'll see it. God will make you be the difference maker. When you come around our congregation, I'm not putting myself on the pedestal, but I got folks that they say, PK, we can tell you anything and you won't judge us. That's the environment that we're creating.
If your church went so far, I'll probably go.
But that's the environment we're creating, because grace is that. But the first 20 years of my walk was legalistic, because that's what I had around me. I had to excavate to find the true power of grace.
But see, you're one in a million.
Yeah,
man.
but you are too. You're the second.
Right, that's why I'm like, I ain't showing up.
Yeah, but I'm not asking you to show up. This what I'm telling you. What the Lord is saying, as you heal, then you reset and you bring the right culture to the table. You set the tone.
I hear that. Well, that goes into our conversation.
We'll talk about that another.
That comes into our conversation.
This is a breakfast conversation. Wait a minute, last was steak, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, steak and shrimp.
So this goes into our conversation.
He paid for it, though.
About becoming an inner practitioner.
Yeah.
Now, one thing in our relationship, we've been in a relationship now for years.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot from you, and I've been around a lot, you know, in your environment. And one thing you always said to me is, Robert, you have to build your life from the inside out.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to be an inner practitioner.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, first, let me say this, because I appreciate you giving me honor where you have, but you have been an incredible influencer that I have been privileged to be around. And I place honor on you in that I've learned a lot from you, and I value what's going on in your life, what's going on in Jackie's life. And it's a beautiful thing to see as you blossom. It's just something to sit back and say, wow, look at God. So I want to return the favor. I appreciate the honor, but I think it's good to be mutual and understanding how we're helping each other. In 1988, there was a predominant leader that actually was way up in influence that took a wild turn in immorality.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was devastated. I was a 20-year-old guy, highly influenced, very entrepreneur, driven like you. You're more than 20 now, but you get my point.
Yeah.
And
That's not true, no.
all of the things that I saw, it crushed me almost to the point where I was like, man, because I knew I didn't have my stuff together. You know, you can't keep you can't keep it together, and you on this platform. And from that point, I went on a quest to discover how to finish well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know how to do that.
We don't know how to finish well.
You're right.
So a lot of people that have been shooting stars have done real well. And in my discovery, this has been over 25 years of pursuit, you got to be bigger on the inside than you are on the outside.
I don't know if I'm there yet. You got to help me.
No, you on your way.
Cool.
You've got to be intentional about being bigger inside. See, all things are created twice.
Okay. All right.
So if I concentrate on the externals of life, then I'll be a midget inside while I'm looking large outside.
Yeah.
And eventually what's going on outside is going to cause me to self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So my statement to you, as you know, when we get together and we have our private, transparent conversations, is that in order to weather the storms of life, I must be bigger and better inside than I am outside. So to be an inward practitioner, see, the scriptures are, God is a heart God. The kingdom is inward, it's not external. But in America specifically, we are so externally minded, it's pathetic. So we look good outside, but we got crap inside.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you expect me to say something after that.
I did.
I'm here listening. I'm here listening.
So
this is your world.
So this is the whole thing I talk about. That book we talked about,
Yeah,
ordering
I
your
read it.
private world.
Yeah.
And so.
And I'll say this. I will say this.
Yeah.
That it, like, I get it. Man, I think listening to you say these things at this juncture in my life, it's like, all right, I understand, I hear it, and it's necessary.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody likes it.
No one does. This is the hardest work you'll ever do.
Man, sometimes you just want to get even.
Well,
Sometimes you
absolutely.
just want to blow it up.
Absolutely. And here's the deal. So we got to come back and talk about this thing, because vengeance, God says, vengeance is mine and I will repay. And what I had to learn, the reason for me not trying to execute vengeance is because I can't go into vengeance without going into darkness.
Yeah.
I have to pull from darkness in order to wreak vengeance on you. So God says, leave that alone, because I'm the only one that can judge accurately and have all of my vengeance clean. You don't have that capability, and neither do I. It's impossible. It's literally impossible for you to try to wreak vengeance on people, you will pull from darkness. So God said, leave that alone. Now that's hard. I have to be trusting that God will take care of his business. Let me tell you something that happened just recently to me. And I think I might have told you this in our intimate session, but they'll get in on some of our conversation. I went through several areas of betrayal, and one of them had come up through a church split. And I was the culprit. I was the one that was being talked about behind closed doors, that I had done something that I didn't do. So I experienced the Saul and David thing and somewhat the Absalom thing. And in this experience, coming out of it, I'm 18 years beyond it now. In the 16th or 17th year, I had a situation come up and I was like, God, why? We had a reunion. The people came back together because we were doing a funeral for somebody. And it was always bittersweet. Man, I came back into that space. I couldn't understand, why was I thinking the way I was thinking? And I told the Lord afterwards, because I had no bitterness or unforgiveness toward anyone. I said, God, why am I feeling like this? And you know, that later on that evening, out of nowhere, God, all his revelation came up and God showed me what I was doing. And the well of tears started. Now, you know, I don't have a problem crying.
Yeah.
And that well started flowing up, and I said, well, I better move to the living room. I don't want to wake up my wife because she's going to think somebody died or whatever, because the way this is coming out. And then when I got there, I realized this is coming out too strong. I better go further. So I went into our family room. And when I did, I wept because the Lord showed me, he says, son, you are holding me hostage for your vindication. Now watch this. And you have every right to believe me for vindication. The problem is you are expecting me to vindicate you a certain way. He says vindication is not going to come your way. It may not come till you reach eternity. You've got to let go on how you expect vindication. And I'm weeping because I'm like, God, I didn't know I held you hostage for this. So my inner perception was different than what I was thinking. I thought that I wasn't living in a space of unforgiveness. And I know I wasn't mad at God, but the perception was wrong. So here's the point with that. This is a journey with our heart. And on that journey, there's a lot you don't understand about yourself,
right,
and what you are processing through. And the reality is, if you let God take you on the journey, you bounce back better, you bounce back now, and you end up becoming a great, great inward practitioner that can be a blessing to humanity.
Well, yeah, what do you say after that? But yeah, what do we say after that?
Well, all I'm going to say to you is that God has much need of you.
Yeah.
And in this season in your life, I understand the pain.
Yeah.
But you are the solution to that problem. One of the solutions. You may not want to. I know you and Jackie both. You know, I ain't doing it. You know, I don't hear it. And I get that. But I'll tell you, God will take the mess, make it a message, and you can create and shape a culture second to none. It won't be easy.
Well,
the good thing about
Jackie's had a shot.
good thing about the grace of God is the reality is old timers used to say you gotta do. No, God can call you, and if you decide not to, he's gonna love you just the same. Yet once you get out of your pain, you make the decision and say, God, we can make this better. Because church was his idea. When I say the word church is ecclesia.
Right.
It's the gathering of people. But people mess. And people mess everywhere you go. Yeah, it's the saying, shoo, ministry is great if it wasn't for people. That's the problem, because ministry is people. But it's all good.
I'm gonna be a Levite. I just want to minister unto
You
the
want to be a
Lord.
Levite, minister unto the Lord.
That's it.
Yeah.
Me and him.
You guys are doing great work, man, and I will look forward to seeing the capacity that you all reach, in which I see a mega capacity. But I've said some stuff that Jackie doesn't know I said, and
You might as well go say.
I'm not going to tell
We
her.
rolling now.
I'm not going to tell her.
Why not?
It's just not quite right time to tell
Right,
her.
not quite. She gonna ask me when we get in the car what you said, so you might as well just go ahead and say it, cause she ain't gonna sleep without knowing.
I don't know if I should do that right
You
now.
should do it.
Hi, Jackie. How you doing
should,
out there?
You should do it, cause she gonna badger me about it.
I'm going to say it this way. Gifts and callings are without repentance. And you know that.
That was a dance around.
I'm sorry.
That was a dance. That was the biggest dance around.
I'm going to say God has much need of the two of you. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, listen, I hear you, and I appreciate you and all that you have to offer. Man, what would you say to someone right now who is journeying, who is processing? How do they begin the journey of building from the inside out?
Well, the first thing I would say is you really got to give yourself a break. You know, we live in a world where God gives us these standards in his word, and then you can turn around and look at yourself and say, Lord, I am nowhere near that.
Yeah.
And you have to give yourself a break and recognize, okay, I have some weaknesses, I've got flaws, but that's not me. I'm moving on a journey. Okay, so I got to take a break from being so critical on my own life, and I got to take it one day at a time. So these young 22 to 32 year olds that I'm doing this discipleship cohort, we got a saying, and that saying is, enjoy the journey. The destination is not as important as the journey. The journey is the day by day deal, and I will never arrive. So I would say to individuals, you know, if you spend 3 minutes with God a day, that's better than doing nothing. If you spend 1 minute with God a day, that's better than doing nothing. But just take the journey.
That's good.
Take the journey. There's a lot to say about the inward stuff.
Yeah.
But the best thing I can tell people is that your life is built incrementally. The macro is more important than the micro. The micro is more important than the macro. But we are highly macro oriented. Again, we want to see the big explosion. But the reality is the more power is in the smaller molecule, or the atom.
The atom. That's good. Listen, y'all, this is Unc. This is the one and only Kelvin Easter. When I get around him, I just gotta shut up and just listen. Like, you just gotta, that's why he's on. I just gotta shut up and listen. Hear what you don't want to hear. And I think that's part of just the journey. Sometimes
It is part of the journey.
it's part of the journey. You gotta have them, hey, sit down, shut up, and just listen. Right? And I know he didn't say that, but in essence, it's, you know, sit down, be quiet, let me learn you something. And I appreciate your words, I appreciate your presence, and I think this is going to change the world.
Yeah, well, I think it is too, and this is great work. And it's good to know that you're listening because you keep using the words, and that's how I know you're listening.
I listen.
Yeah.
It's in there somewhere.
Making application is another story.
That's a whole nother story. But anyway,
I'm teasing you.
that's another series.
That's for all of us.